So I'm having a catch up with Ziggy Alberts. How are you?
I'm good. I am early, which is the rarest sentence in my world.
Well, yes, absolutely. It's not something that musicians tend to do, be up at this time. But you are on tour, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But I want to talk about a new single of yours that we've been playing called "New Love." Tell us a bit about the single first of all.
Yeah, so I wrote this song. It's the title track from the New Love album that was released in, I think, sometime in February. And yeah, I remember starting writing the song in a hotel room in Birmingham. And it was a real sweet chapter because I think I finally, at that point, I was struggling to write songs about exactly how I felt or how things were, and it was a very cathartic moment to simply say how I felt with that song in the moment, and it helped spark, I guess, a whole album, and and it was a great turning point in my personal life too. So yeah, very thankful for that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sounds that you've made with this new record of yours, is it the sounds you wanted, or is it kind of how it turned out in the studio?
No, it's pretty much how I wanted it. I think to be immensely transparent, mixing and mastering is really tricky because it's such a sliding scale. And for listeners, I'm assuming who would know what this is, but if maybe not, like the process of recording and then how you mix and master a song for it to be available online. How do you do that? And the question is, you have to like reference how you want it to sound, what you think's a quality sound, and then also now all our songs are ending up in playlists, and there's like a real sound war happening regarding loudness.
Mm.
And so, long story short, it's so impressionable your ears, you know. So you always listen back to record and you think maybe I would mix it differently. But what I'm immensely proud of is that two of us managed to make the album simple and minimalistic. And I think that was my real vision to keep it with a spirit of minimalism. And we achieved that. And that's difficult when you've got two creative people in a room. So it could always be hindsight is everything. But I'm immensely happy that I went for a minimalist record and we achieved that.
Good, good. And I'm sure you wrote more than what made it onto this record. What happens to those now? Do you consider them again down the line, or is it a case of starting afresh when the time comes?
That's a great question. I always just typically chuck them into. I've got something I call the song bank, and it's like my song bank that I just have. Usually, I actually record on I'm on my phone with a Zoom. Otherwise, I'd show you. But I just usually record straight into my phone, like little demos or incessant melodies at awkward times where you're that person singing somewhere, and they turn into songs. And I mean, one of the songs on this record called Confessions. On the B side, I wrote that in 2015, and and 10 years later, here we are. And so I have a real trust in just write the song, and the story may not be one to tell for another decade, but you just write it. And yeah, I do think maybe the more records I get into, you get more and more critical in a positive way. Like you go, is this song, is it vulnerable enough? Is it dynamic enough? Is it true? And you get more and more. I mean, I think I'm like seven. I think I'm 7 albums in or something, like maybe like 100 songs out in the world, which is bizarre to me. And so you get more and more critical. And the ones you love definitely shine. But you just don't know. You got to keep them and value them. And when the day comes, it might be for a sync, or it might be because you've just the story needs to be told at a certain time. And yeah, so I just stick them back in the song bank, and when we get into a new album time, you've got songs you're excited about, but if you maybe are missing some numbers, you're like, okay, what would fit? And that was the case with this last New Love record, is the song Confessions just finally made sense for an album in this time.
Yeah, and you mentioned 7 records in now. How have you and how has the music evolved since the start through until now?
I wish I was less mad, like as in mad as a cut snake. So I just like it'd be nice if in this time I would feel more sane. But and you have these moments where you're like, I'm more sane now than I was, and then you have moments you're like, that's absolutely not the case. So how has it evolved? I think my I think my I think my taste in I think my taste is always evolving. I'm always going to typically be a singer-songwriter at this juncture, and I always try and branch off into where I'm inspired with like a subgenre. For example, like there's a record prior called Dancing in the Dark, and I intentionally hyper auto-tuned the backing vocals as just a stylistic choice. I was just like, yeah, that's what I want to do, and a particularly I'm going to use like a dance sub bass, like an 808, instead of something that is perhaps more typical of the genre. Um, oh man, it's just three years into world tour. This is my third year of world touring. We're about to start. I'm here in Cork, Ireland, and about to start 30. I got 35 shows in 47 days. And so I think probably how I've evolved is I've naturally evolved to need to be more disciplined. And I think there's a small risk that you become perhaps slightly less artistic, or not less artistic, but you become less random because you have to contain yourself a bit more, and there is a small risk in that. But I feel like the discipline has allowed me to be more present at shows, provide the best show I can every night to people. And frankly, I just don't know how I'd survive another way. So I think I'm more disciplined now, full stop, across my personal life. But that's what I'm inspired by, and I think as long as we're being disciplined to create better lives for ourselves, and hopefully play better shows for the people, and if that gives me an opportunity to be a better artist, then I'm keen to do it. And it's just being mindful to not let your to not we got enough computers. We don't need more computers. Let's stay human. But yeah, the discipline's been necessary and a great evolution, and it's made my life enjoyable in what would otherwise just be a complete and utter fucking chaos world.
Yeah, no, I totally understand where you're coming from. And you mentioned you're on tour at the moment. Ireland and UK, you've got the rest of Europe coming up as well, and you've got some shows back home in Australia and New Zealand to finish off the tour. I bet you can't wait to be doing some more shows.
Yeah, it's I mean, pretty special run. I haven't done. There's a bunch of dates in Ireland here that I haven't done. A bunch of dates in the UK I've never played. Playing my first headline at the Royal Albert Hall, which sold out, which was amazing. So a real that's going to be a real we did it moment. I've already bumped into a bunch of fans who are attending that show from all around Europe and UK. So that'll be cool because I mean I never would have thought. I started my career here, and I mean my first show in London was in like a Turkish cafe. Turkish cafe with people sitting on the floor, to like 50 people in Hackney. And, so to come to this year to do the Royal Albert Hall, to like be able to, I guess, do that with these wonderful people who have attended shows the last 10 years. Yeah, that's going to be a real we did it moment, for the community of people that um I'm very fond of that attend the shows. And going to do my first arena back at home, which is going to be cool. I finished my last show of the year, and which kind of wraps up 3 years of world touring, is going to be my first ever arena show. So that'll be a great way to close a chapter of my life and welcome the new.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet you can't wait for that show, especially. And are you hoping to add any more dates in, or do you think this is kind of it for the rest of the year now?
I think I'm done. I think we by the end of it, it will be over 100 shows
Mm.
in less than 6 months. As far as like I said, maybe in North America we did 35 shows in 51 days, and this is 35 shows in 47 days. And yeah, so we're like, well, and I did a whole bunch of regional dates at the start of the year in Australia, like probably 25 or 30. And then the end of the year shows. And so I think it's maybe like it might be over 100 shows um, in a calendar year, but for people listening, I think within 6 months of when I'm doing the shows, which is I've never done that many shows in such a short period of time.
Mm.
So, um, however, I'm always up for a random little pop-up gig, and so you may find me in these times. I feel I might be never say never because I always end up putting. I say no, and then last tour I think I put on two random shows anyway in new cities. So just stay tuned and come along for the ride.
Yeah, sounds good to me. What does 2026 what's it gonna hold for you?
So, I can't say too much, but being the incessant workaholic that I am, I may or may not have in the summer been recording in between world tours, and so it is too early to say, but I suspect there may be new music in the work. It feels like it feels like maybe the best stuff I've ever done, which is not to be taken for granted because often I think the best work you do is when you just start because it's the most unalterated, unfiltered, unimpression. No one's made an impression on you. And so, yeah, I don't know what 2026 looks like, but it feels like it's going to be a really big change in my life. And I think for better, but I don't know, I don't have the destiny ball, but it feels like it's like everything we're on the precipice of like something really beautiful. I don't know what it is, but I'm just gonna stay healthy and keep charging.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And you don't just write and release music because I found this that you sent me a while ago, which is a poetry book. Are you going to be doing that some more?
Absolutely. I think I'm actually just looking. I've got this little people who may not have a screen, but I've got this little thing called a Remarkable. No, I'm not sponsored. I don't have a discount code, but it's like a digital notepad. And I've traveled with that for 7 years. And so I'm always just working on poetry or like I guess like small moments from life on the road. And we actually incorporate a lot of the poetry now in the show. Like we're using these poetry interludes, and sometimes we're pairing the poetry with old instrumental versions of tracks that I'm not playing live. And it's become fundamental. It's become something that's like, and I also feel like it's relatively unique as far as not, I mean, it's nothing I've seen other singer-songwriters doing. So that's nice because we're all playing three chords. So like that's good. And I'm just really passionate about it. And so yeah, I'm pleased that you got a copy and I love it. It's like music is like this outward expression and poetry is like this inward reflection. And so I feel they're a great balance together. And I just want to I'd love to keep incorporating more of it. And yeah, I'd love to keep incorporating more of it to the show and into my career.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Ziggy, it's been a pleasure having a catch up with you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And thanks everybody who's listening.